I'm just going to take a picture of some rocks over here. In fact, I'm going to take two, but there's going to be quite a large difference between the two. That shot just cost £1,500. This shot is a £7 shot, which is, I think you'll agree, an awful lot of money to be spending on a camera. So the age-old question has always been, if I spend more money on my camera, will I get better pictures? Well, I've come down here to have a look, see what we can find out. So you're watching me take the identical picture in identical light, identical composition, but with two very different cameras. So is it going to affect the pictures? Let's go and take one more. There we go. Both of these cameras are set up exactly the same. I'm using the same focal length, I'm using the same aperture, I'm using the same ISO, the same white balance settings. I've even been into the picture set controls to make sure that the contrast, the saturation, the hue and everything else is set up identically, so we can see what's going on. I've also just changed the ISO for this shot. I've gone from 200 to 1600. So let's have a little go. I do like stacking a stone up. It always looks cool when the light goes down a little bit and you're looking for a shot. Go and make one. Right, I've got the same thing set on here. Take the same picture, focus that up. There we go. So just comparing and scrolling across those pictures, they're the same picture, aren't they? There isn't a great deal of difference. Now, some are a little brighter from one camera than the other. Now, is that the metering, or is that just that this has a much better quality LCD than this one will have? Well, I don't know. We're not going to find out until we get them into the computer. The thing is, it's you who takes the picture, and I know I bang on about this a lot, but you can't just spend 7,000 odd quid on a camera, see some rocks on the wall and think, oh, that'll make a nice picture, and then just kind of go like that and expect that shot to look like the one that I just took. It's about taking care. So if it's not going to take different pictures, what are you spending your money on? And now I've got chilly, I had to go to the car and get my coat. So what do we got? This is my Nikon D300. This has now been superseded by the D300S, which shoots video as well. This one doesn't. I've been shooting professionally with two of these D300 bodies for about 4 years now, and I have absolutely no complaints. It is a professional camera. Everything makes sense, it's easy to reach, all the knobs and buttons make sense, got a nice big LCD on the back, shoots lovely colours, nice creamy RAW files, and the ISO performance isn't bad either. The body on this will cost you about £1,000. That lens probably about £300 to £400. So we're in the just under 1,500 quid bracket. This is Nikon's flagship D3X. This is a very, very, very rugged build. It's very, very heavy. If I was to drop that, I'd probably chip a piece out of the steps here. Looking around the outside of the camera, to me it makes a lot of sense, and I've often found that top-end professional cameras, whether it be Nikon, Canon or anyone else, are often actually easier to use than their consumer brothers. There are only about half a dozen controls you ever actually need to fiddle with when you're out on a shoot. And on this camera, they're all on the outside. I've got my ISO, my image quality where I can flick between TIFF, JPEG and RAW, white balance. I've got my focusing modes, I've got my metering modes on the top here. I can flick between program modes with that button there. I just press it and turn the dial to go from program auto, shutter priority, aperture priority and manual. I've even got my exposure compensation button on the top where it's easy to get at. I can even get into my auto bracketing with that button on the top there if I want to. On my camera I have to dig around in a menu to find that, and that is also a professional camera. It's a good job I don't use auto bracketing that often. On the inside, that's really where your bucks are going. This has got 25 megapixels versus my 12 megapixels. Now, unless you're printing your pictures very, very big indeed, it's not really going to make a lot of difference. But I was talking to my magazine editor buddy Adam Scory fairly recently about this. As he says, possibly digital medium format is going to die fairly soon because the DSLRs are getting such good resolution. Why would you want to lug around medium format if you can shoot it all into a much smaller camera like this. You've got excellent optical quality in this lens. It's an f2.8 lens, which means it's a very wide aperture. We've already done a professional versus consumer lens test. I suggest you go and check that one out to find out more about the lens element of this. But it's a professional lens, it's a fast lens, therefore a couple of grand for the lens. You've got a very good quality, high-powered processor going on inside this, which is going to be processing your files quickly. If you're shooting JPEG, it's going to take the RAWs and turn them into JPEGs for you ever so quickly. You can probably write them to the card incredibly fast, great big RAW files. My RAW files are about, I think, 8 to 10 megabytes each. These are 25 megabytes each. They're very big files indeed. But the main thing, I guess, to look at is the pictures. Now, we've already seen I've taken exactly the same pictures with both cameras. I hope I've made my point that it's not the camera that takes the picture, it's the photographer. But all these things we've just been discussing here won't really become apparent until we look at them in the computer.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified each time we upload one of our cool photography videos, or for more great photo tips, workshops and training, come and see us at our website, photographycourses.biz.